Before we launch into Psalm 101, it's important to take a step back and look at where we are in the context of the entire collection of Psalms. Book 4 began with Psalm 90. It was a psalm of Moses. Then we had Psalms 91, 92, both hymns that were untitled, author unknown, that spoke of God's protection and of his blessing upon us, that even though Psalm 90 tells us that we are but dust, man is mortal, 91 and 92 Psalms tell us that God is with us, God protects us, and God will bless us and give us a long life. So those three Psalms sort of fit together. They talk about days of our lives, age, those kinds of things. In Psalm 93 through 100, these 8 Psalms are all hymns, and they speak of the reign of God, his justice, he is king, he is coming, he will reverse the curse of sin, and they are at the heart of the book of Psalms, this joyous collection of hymns that celebrate the reign of God. Now we move to Psalm 101, and it is a royal psalm, as you can see in the diagram here. We also, though, get into book 5 in this section. So this is interesting. You'd think that books 4 and 5 would be divided in a very natural way, but instead they cut right across this particular chiasm. The chiasm here is pretty clear. A group of 10 psalms, Psalm 101 through 110, begin and end with a royal psalm, a psalm of David, and then moving inward, followed by a lament, or in the case of Psalm 109, preceded by a lament. And incidentally, Psalm 109 is one of the most violent imprecatory psalms, very lamentable. Then Psalm 103, 108 perhaps coordinate. This connection is probably not as strong. Psalm 108 is actually a compilation of 2 previous Psalms, 57 and 60, which were both classified as laments, but they do speak of the steadfast love of God, and so there perhaps is some coordination there. And Psalm 104 coordinating with Psalm 107, emphasizing the works of God at the creation of the world and his management of the earth. Psalm 107, speaking of the works of God, specifically in terms of salvation and how he rescues us out of various situations in life. Psalms 105, 106 clearly pair with one another. They're both historical psalms, similar in length. Psalm 105 accenting God's faithfulness to his people. 106, Israel's unfaithfulness to God. Now, if we think of Book 4 as a collection and Book 5 being collected at the same time, they were probably collected for use during the exile, or even, I'm going to say during the exile, perhaps at the end of the exile. At any rate, they are designed to speak to the nation at a time when they were questioning the reign of God. They're in captivity in Babylon, and these Psalms reminded them that God is still on the throne. And so we have this group of royal psalms that frame this section that remind us of a Messiah. That's really what these royal psalms wind up becoming messianic, because even though they're psalms of David and his descendants were not on the throne, the monarchy had been shattered. And so the question is, what was next? And so they began to have this messianic hope, this look to the future of another king that would rise up. And of course, 110 is strongly messianic in pointing to Jesus. The authors of the New Testament will quote this extensively. Jesus himself will quote this extensively. And so the longing of the Israelite people for a king, for a Messiah, is ultimately going to be fulfilled in Jesus. But as you can see, Psalms 101 through 106 really fit into Book 5 better. And the division here between Psalm 106, 107, between these two books is really rather arbitrary. So I wanted to see that before we launch into Psalm 101. So here we go with Psalm 101. I'm going to suggest it's certainly a psalm is assigned to David, but I'm going to suggest it's a coronation vow, that this is something that David and other kings might have publicly prayed in making a promise, an oath, as king. We do this in civic life today. Anyone who takes an oath of office makes promises, swears their loyalty to the Constitution, for example. And this is a good thing. When we get married, we make promises. We pledge our loyalty. This is a good thing. These oaths are transformative. They remind us of what we are doing, and they stay with us. So I think this is a great oath that we all should take as a leader. Not all of us, of course, not any of us probably going to be king, but we are all leaders. They're all people that we influence, and if we want to influence well, we will pledge our loyalty to certain things. So I will sing of the steadfast love and justice. I will make music. So love and justice, those are two characteristics of a good king. Someone who is loving, empathetic, cares for others, as well as someone who administers justice. So I'm going to state these as pledges, and I think one of the things that a leader needs to pledge to do is to worship. Public worship. That's what David is saying here. I will make music. Well, that's probably implying here corporate public worship. I will ponder the way that is blameless. So integrity. David says, I will match my words and my deeds, my worship with my way of life. And he says, I will do this. I will walk with integrity within my house. And so this begins at home. I will be the same person at home that I am at the office, at church. I will be a leader who is consistent, both inside and outside of my home. Verse 3, I will not set before my eyes anything that is worthless. Now, David here is probably talking about idolatry, a worthless idol. He won't worship idols. But I think we can extend this in a broader sense to what we allow to come into our minds, what we look at, what we see. You know, Philippians will tell us whatever is lovely, honorable, pure, and noble, that these are the things that we need to take into our lives and into our minds. So this is a pledge for purity. I think this is a great verse to have setting above your television or above your computer monitor, and make this pledge as well. I will not set before my eyes anything that is worthless. And frankly, a lot of things that we take into our minds through our eyes are frankly worthless. He says on in verse 3, I hate the work of those who fall away. It shall not cling to me. And this will be the first of a couple statements about friendship. He will be wise in his friendships. We're reminded of the first psalm where in the very first verse, the psalmist makes wise choices when it comes to his associations. Verse 4, a perverse heart shall be far from me. I will know nothing of evil. To me, that suggests holiness. It suggests separation. It suggests sanctification. Verse 5, whoever slanders his neighbor secretly, I will destroy. And that's pretty strong words, but it's basically saying I'm going to protect the integrity of others. I'm going to guard the reputation of others as well. So while these first pledges are more interior, more internal, more personal, the psalm will move to more social promises that he's making. So I'm going to be a protector of the reputation of others. Whoever has a haughty look and an arrogant heart, I will not endure. So I will practice humility. And again, I won't put up with arrogance, with pride in others. I will look with favor on the faithful in the land, that they may dwell with me. So there's another positive statement of friendship. So I'll reject those who fall away, but I will embrace and dwell with those who are faithful and allow them to influence me as I influence them. He who walks in the way that is blameless shall minister to me. This suggests to me accountability, that I will place myself in a relationship to others who will hold me accountable, will minister to me, and will see that I'm keeping my promises. Verse 7, no one who practices deceit will dwell in my house. No one who utters lies shall continue before my eyes. So he's not going to put up with lying, either in his home, in his family, with his children, or in his leadership. He is going to demand honesty and truth in every way. And finally, verse 8, morning by morning I will destroy all the wicked in the land, cutting off all the evildoers from the city of God. Again, pretty strong language here. What he's saying here is, in his role as a king, he will administer justice. I will wake up every morning and I will see that justice is done, that those who are oppressing the poor, I will put an end to it. I will punish and do justice. As a Christian, we can pray this prayer because we pray it through Christ. We're not saying that we are perfect, that we are self-righteous, that we can accomplish this level of character and integrity on our own, but that we're motivated by Christ. We're motivated by His love for others, and we're motivated by our love for Him in return, that we would live such a life that would bring honor to Him.